Money Moments with Friends, Mental Health Edition.
Welcome to another episode of CJ and Friends. Today we have my sister, one of my good friends, Miss Nakisha Henderson. She is a life coach and a certified therapist. She has advanced degrees in both of those focus areas. And I'm just excited to finally get her to sit down with me on the tail end of Mental Health Awareness Month. So today we're talking about money and children and how money can affect a child growing up and how that forms them later in life. So welcome, Keisha.
Hey, Cece. How you doing?
I'm good. So everyone knows, if you've watched an episode or a series or whatever you want to call this that I do, the first question that I ask of all my guests is, what is their first memory of money? Was it having enough, not having enough, having too much, a first piggy bank, whatever that memory is? Or what was your first memory of money?
Well, my first initial memory that, hearing that question takes me back to my grandmother. And she was superstitious, but she was religious too. So I remember one time she said, take her purse and go set it over on the table. When instead of me setting it on the table, I set it on the floor. And to her, that meant if you set your purse on the floor, that your money was gonna go quick. So, that's really my first my first memory of money. We grew up not having a lot, but she learned, she showed us how to stretch. And the money that she did have, she just made sure that she appropriated those funds just so. We never went without. But I just remember that not until I got to that older age that, we didn't grow up like other kids, So I just know that we came up on some hard times, just being told no for simple things like book fairs and stuff like that. Can I get an extra milk at lunch? No, your lunch is free. So you get what they give you. So, those are some good memories now that I look back on it, but boy, they was rough growing up.
I love it. But what's so funny is whenever people talk about, free lunch, paid lunch, we never paid for lunch. It wasn't because I don't think my parents couldn't afford it. It's because I filled out the form. Like, no, we ain't got no money, we ain't got no money. And I turned the form in every year. I'm like, you want me to pay for this lunch? No, ma'am. We don't have no money. So my mom probably never even completed that form. Not for me anyway. Maybe for my sisters. Maybe they brought their form home, but I was a smart child.
See, so I got it. I'll do it myself. Yeah.
Children, don't try this at home, okay? If any children watch it, bring all documents from the school home to your parents and let them.
Absolutely.
Them, okay, this is back in the 80s and 90s. It's a different thing now, okay?
Sure is.
Don't want nobody knocking at your door asking about the lunch money. So children and money. So give me a little bit of background about your experience as a child therapist and how you've seen money play into some of those sessions that you've had with children.
Definitely even affects them receiving treatment. If a family does not even have medical insurance, they'll have to pay out of pocket. And I have seen parents literally call to the office and say, I can't bring my kid in today because I just don't have the gas money. I just don't have the money for the sliding fee scale. They're already on the sliding fee scale. And, it affects their child's mental health, them receiving medication. So, not being able to have the money just on that aspect and not even just mental health, physical things. Well, Miss Keisha, he fell at the playground. Well, mama, his leg don't look so good. What you got going on? Well, I can't afford to take him to the doctor. So finances, when people think about just being able to buy their children things, we also need money to be able to take care of their health, mental and physical. So I have seen it hurt children. I have seen parents struggle, try to make decisions on whether or not it's going to be the electricity, if it's going to be food, those type of things, just working with kids. And it affects the children to the point of where they are almost embarrassed or ashamed to ask for help. It may be a field trip. It may be an extracurricular activity that they want to be involved in, and they know that their family is financially strapped. So they won't even ask. They don't even want to put the pressure or the stress on the parent, even more. Should I just say that? But, I've absolutely seen kids, and I've also seen them get highly upset. Yeah, highly upset. To the point to where they become physically aggressive, that you never have money. Why don't you ever have money? And, I think as a that's hard to swallow, but these are kids, they don't understand that. They have no clue. So it definitely affects those children. Yes.
Yeah, I understand all of that. And I know a few seconds ago, you were talking about having to make the hard decision between the power bill, the groceries, a roof over your head. But on the flip side of that, have you just seen irresponsibility play in banking? I remember I was a loan for a car. So she was telling me how her car broken down a couple months earlier and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, kind of walking her through a process, trying to see if she could even afford a car note because she didn't have one before. And she said, well, we just came back from vacation. And I was like, oh, okay. I said, so your car broke down and then you went on vacation. And she looked at me, she said, yes, my kids have never gone anywhere. She said, and I wanted to take them somewhere. So I was like feeling sorry for her, like, well, yeah, her kids deserve a vacation, but now she doesn't have the means to pay for a car. So now the kids are going to suffer even more, but maybe that lasting experience was worth it. So how do you deal with that when a parent comes in and they're saying that they can't afford something, but maybe maybe you've seen certain things and you're like, well, if you could kind of alter some of your decisions, maybe you could get what you need.
So I have worked with parents who smoke a lot of cigarettes. Let me just go ahead and say that. And to me, of course, I'm not telling you how to live your life, but a lot of them justify smoking cigarettes with stress management. So, when you're going over a budget with them and you're saying, okay, you're bringing in this much, but you're spending this much, do you think that this is something you can cut? Absolutely not. I will not cut that, and they don't, in their minds, that's just one thing that they need in their life to keep them going. Even though we see that as, hey, that's the easy cut. I've also had parents, like you say, have luxuries as far as getting nails done, getting lashes done, going to the casino. And once again, in their mind, that is justified because this is self-care. And so when you get into that, it's a fine line when you're a therapist, a life coach, as far as telling people how they can practice self-care. So what I started doing was, okay, so let's think about this. Let's think about your budget, and you're always coming up short. And we do the line items. Where can you cut? What could you cut? Well, they're not cutting the cable bill. They're not gonna cut their cell phone bill. So, maybe I can get my nails done. I don't have to get the overlay, so it's just small things. But I also feel like, CC, it goes back to how we started the conversation. What's your earliest memory of money? And so if I didn't grow up with having anything, I always feel the need that I need to treat myself. And that's what I see, is that a lot of people feel like I should treat myself, taking a vacation, perfect example. Vacations are wonderful. Vacations build memories for children. It shows us how to bond as families. However, you don't have to do Disneyland if you can't afford it. That could be a 5-year goal. You can always go to Universal. You can always, building those memories are important. I always try to tell parents that, but you don't want to go broke. Mm-hmm. You don't want to go broke. When we were in college, people would get those refunds, baby. Nobody went to class after the refund. You know what I'm saying? So it's in us. I need to treat myself. I need to give myself something nice. I need to buy myself something, and that's just how we are. That's our society. I think it's when you grow up not having, you feel like that mentality of, I'm buying myself something nice.
You talked about the self-care. Like when self-care kind of became a thing, it was like self-care on the 10th power. It wasn't like reading a book. It was like, girl, go to the most expensive restaurant and sit by yourself and get a bottle of champagne. And I was like, no.
Say it. You deserve to be treated.
Yes, I felt like that has kind of taken on a life of its own. And then also with the vacations, I think now when you see people going on annual vacations, I think in years past, annual vacations were only for the not extremely wealthy, but wealthy.
wealthy.
So like for me growing up, we would go visit a family member. So what that means, you go to stay, right? So you drive there, you stay there, but now people are taking families on, you know, well, cruises aren't that expensive, but they can be on cruises, flights, traveling here, traveling there. And I definitely think we need to normalize living what I like to call like a moderate lifestyle. Like you don't have to shoot the moon for everything, for every birthday. Now, everybody who knows me knows I love a good birthday party for my kids. But literally, if you saw the process, but it's definitely ways that you can get your children what they need. Like you said,
absolutely.
I have another question about.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say too, if you think about it, like with vacations, for me and my family, we start a vacation fund. We don't touch our savings to go on vacation. So we always plan a year ahead as far as what do we want our summer to look like? What are we going to be doing in spring break? What's going to be happening? You know, and like you said, it's okay to go to a cousin's house, cut a couple of finances right there, staying with somebody, and then going on a trip while you're there to a museum. It can be small things, water parks. You know, I think people, we get caught in this Insta life is what I call it. You know, social media gives you the hype that you got to be doing all these things. Well, let's be real. Do you want to charge all that and come home and pay a bill for something you did last year? You know, I just think that we got to do smarter. We have a lot more educated people, and we have a lot of people who are doing good financially, but we don't always make good financial decisions, you know, because we want to look like we having a good time. So, yeah.
So going back to the children, in terms of the way you see that play out, do you see children mistreat their peers who may have less than them? Or on the flip side, do you see children mistreat their wealthier peers because they have more than what they have at home?
So I definitely have seen both. Growing up, we would be the ones quick to pick at the kids who had the money, so we didn't get noticed. When our kids got run down and they were super dirty, you know, I'm not embarrassed to say this now, but my grandmother would never, we didn't, it was a certain time frame of when we got new stuff. So if you damaged your stuff before the next time frame came up, which was usually Christmas, so you had that stretch between August to Christmas, it had to last. But what we would do was take shoe polish, CC, and go over our white shoes. They wasn't leather, they was cloth. But you know, she just showed us ways of making habits. But then I've also seen the rich pick on the not so rich, you know, and I don't like to call people poor just because I just don't. The rich pick on the not so rich just because you don't have certain things. I have worked with a child, went to private school, you know, they are dressed just alike, but the shoes, the belts, you know, the purses, the backpacks. So those children, I had a kid that was picked on, you know, even though parent is making the tuition payments, being bullied because of that, and you're like, golly, they'll make up anything. They'll just, but you know, all of that does affect the child. It really does. And as a parent, you tell them what, shake it off. Don't worry about that. They're not your friends anyway. But it really does affect one's mental health. As far as just saying, I'm not well. Like, I don't want to be the one targeted all the time. So that in turns does what? Pick on somebody else, because I got to get that attention off of me, you know.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I always like to say pressure always rolls downward. You know, if somebody's on them, you're gonna find somebody smaller than you or less fortunate than you. So if you're counseling one of those wealthier kids, what is something that you would tell them? And the wealthy kids, they have it already. So are we trying to teach them on the flip side, be a better human being? Yeah, is that what we're generally telling them?
Your character determines a lot of things, and you never know who you're gonna meet or be in a room with, and you need them. That's the number one thing that we need to learn in life. I might have had all these great and fabulous materialistic things. However, when it comes time for an interview, guess what? I might be in an interview with one of my classmates' parents. You know, we never know. Out of everything we do, we need to treat people good, and we need to treat people how we really do want to be treated, because it's gonna come back around. Your character is going to come back around. The same way this realm of work on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, if I dropped your name somewhere, guess what? Somebody knows you. And that's what we do now when it's time to hire, right? We looking at Facebook pages, we asking around, we looking at the references, even the people who do that, only because we want people of good character. Money plays a factor only in a certain sector of life. For me, you know, I always tell my husband, you know, I can live in a 1-bedroom trailer. We'll be just fine, you know, because I grew up without it. And I remember the good times of not having money, how it was where we had to make up games to play with each other because we didn't have enough money to have Monopoly or Uno cards, you know, and that may seem funny to some people nowadays, but it was okay. You know, it's okay because the bond that we had growing up, man, that's unbreakable now. It's unbreakable. So everything comes back to character. And if I am in a position to provide any type of life skills or just, you know, general knowledge to somebody who's coming to me for counseling or just a life coaching, what does your character say about who you are as a person? Right. If I took your money away, if I took your titles away, what does your character say about who you are? Can you give me 3 to 4 words about who you are? What would your friends say about you? You know, CC, and people get stuck. I mean, I'm funny. Okay, what else? You know, it's like taking away my doctor title, taking away that I have all of this, you know, this big house on the lake or whatever. Okay, let's remove, who are you? You know, so get down to the character of people is really what I try to do. Not strip them, you know, strip away, but just really getting them to think about who you really are as a person. And are you a good person? And if not, let's work toward getting you there. Yeah.
And you know what's so funny? So, you know, I'm a financial coach, and a lot of times the people who most people think, oh, they have it, a lot of times it's like they're right on the cusp. Like, you know, like maybe their husband is an engineer or something, and he just may be one project away from foreclosure. Like, we won't be able to pay our mortgage if he doesn't get this next contract. So a lot of times people are living for that. They're not living paycheck to paycheck. Maybe an entrepreneur, maybe they're living project to project. So
project to project, right?
People, it's like you said earlier about planning, like setting your intention for the next year in terms of how much do you want to save this year? How much do you want to spend on trips, on food? Of course, you ain't gonna map out a year for food.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so with those wealthier people, I definitely try to encourage them to say, listen, talk about money in a responsible way. Like when you're planning trips with your friends or when y'all are out at dinner, talk about the IRA account that you opened, or talk about, you know, your company. Oh, well, they just decided not to match, so we decided to move this here. Because for me, like a goal that I have just in life is to normalize talking about money in a responsible way. I think people are talking about flossing and doing this, but nobody's like, my net worth is, I have a positive net worth, or I have this. It's like, so they're kind of mixing the messages. So for me, I just definitely want that to happen. And just in terms of kids, I think the earlier they start to hear those types of conversations, that's just how much better off they're going to be on both sides, whether they're the wealthy child or the less fortunate child. I think the wealthier child will learn to be more responsible with their words, more responsible with the way they spend money. And for that child
absolutely
that's fortunate, they're definitely going to value the income that they begin to earn when they finish school.
Yeah. I know one of the things that damaged me, you know, was after I got out my first marriage and here I am divorced with 2 kids by myself. I knew nothing about managing, nothing, because I never was taught. That money was such a private conversation in growing up. There was not a conversation of, hey, grandma, how much you bring in a year? You know, you better not ask nobody nothing about nothing. And so when you say that, like credit score, when I moved out and I ran up my first credit card to $7,000, no lie, CC, it probably took me about 7 years to pay that off. 7 years to pay that off.
Because you're doing good at 7 years.
but I'm just saying, but I was 28. So I was struggling to maintain. So I would pay a bill with this, pay a bill with that, do this. And you know, it was not until something finally clicked. You want to keep this 494 credit score for the rest of your life? Like credit, right? To me, I was like, credit? Who needs credit? I already got a car. But that's not what it's about. Guess what? You gonna want some one day. Your name don't mean nothing in this town. So it's sad.
I was like, you mess around and be homeless, not worry about that credit score, because you won't find a place to live.
You won't. Apartments now, some jobs look at your credit score. So you are sitting here trying to apply for something that happened 7 years ago, but you're still not showing in good credit that you are a person of your word. See, that's all credit really is that I gave you $5,000.
Right.
You told me you was gonna pay me back on time, and I'm giving you this money with this interest. So why do I need to give them $105 a month for the next 7 years instead of just, but I didn't know that. I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
And, where I am today, I think is because of bumping my head.
Oh yeah.
Hard. My husband, oh my goodness, he came in with a business mind. He is 100% business all the time. He's a salesman, and so he knows automatically he's doing numbers. And so I think just watching him work, and I was just like, man, this man is okay. Well, let's do it. If you say we can do this, and he said it when we get married, or by the time we're in our second year of marriage, is what he said, we'll have saved up $150,000. I was like, ain't no way. I don't see that happening. But you know what? Yeah, we hit that mark and then some. So I was just sitting here thinking, and I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying this because if you have to have two like-minded people working together. And having been through that struggle, I knew I never wanted to go back there again, but I had never been where he was trying to take me either. So I had to trust him. And that was hard because financially, like I said, he looked at my credit score and I was like, he was, and in his mind, he was like, don't worry about that. We're going to get you where you need to be, where you want to be. And I was like, okay.
Look.
Worse than what it was before. I made it to the sixes on my own. So I was just like,
yeah, take me to the finish line. Yes.
Your name means something in this town. I added to mine. So I think that is one big misconception as far as growing up. Parents, educate your children while they're young on what it means to be financially responsible, not only with paying their bills, but saving, and how important it is to help them establish credit if you're able to. Back in the day growing up, how many people had phone bills and wasn't even 10 years old? I mean, getting stuff from Rent-A-Center in their baby name, I'm glad things have changed though, because people were damaging children before they could even get started, So I think we don't want to hurt our kids by being financially irresponsible and they carrying the burden on us. Talk about generational curse, right? Like that's being passed on to them and we do that to them. So we have to be a little bit more responsible as adults, and like I said, when you see that there's so many credit repair places now, so many. No. So many. You are a financial coach. Like so many. Invest in yourself, people. If people can't do nothing else, invest in yourself getting pulled out the rut. You can't say somebody holding you back and you the one giving them the gun. You just can't do that.
Exactly. And you know what? You said something that made me want to ask one last question. Well, not before your GGG. Have you ever encountered a family that is like super frugal? Like where they save every little thing and it's just like, nope, he can get new shoes in 3 months because that's when we budgeted for that. Like, how have you seen that play out as well? Because I teach a moderate lifestyle. I don't teach super frugal and I don't teach live it up as well.
Yeah.
Tell me about that experience.
So there are definitely people who pinch every single penny, but those are the people who were extremely without growing up, extremely without, like no electricity. I'm talking about the basic needs of life have not been met. And that every single parent or in family that I've worked with, that is their driving force behind it. I'm talking about keeping everything, hand-me-downs from every single child. I'm talking about they just pinch washing aluminum foil, washing paper plates. I'm talking, that's what I'm talking about. But they have the means to get whatever they really want. That's just who they are. And it definitely comes back from, once again, our childhood and how we were raised, and not making sure they'll never go back to that point. Never
right.
go.
Yeah. Right. I have a phrase I always like to say, people are a culmination of their experiences.
Absolutely.
So that is all we are. Like, all I am is a big ball of age 0 to 40 and a quarter. Yep. Like, that is all I am. Everything that I've ever experienced in my life.
So true.
And so for me, I definitely, right. And so I always try to not teach people, but I often try to give people grace.
Yes.
And I often say, like, if someone's being rude to you or whatever, I always say, we don't know what they left from, on the way here. We don't know who they just buried yesterday. We don't know what's going on in a person's life. Well, I'm definitely not one to judge, but the conversation I wanted to have today was just, like I said, about children and money and how that can affect them. So if anybody is out there listening and thinking, oh, well, maybe I should be a little more open with my son about why I tell him no to the book fair. And on the flip side, maybe I should tell my daughter why she can get as much as she has, because me and her dad maybe had her at 40 years old. Maybe we set ourselves up, because a lot of people are having children a lot later in life, right? So it's like true. All these kids are not in school together, but their parents may be 40, 50, 30. It may be a wide range of parents, and depending on their age level and their career, right? So I just definitely am so excited to have you on today. This has definitely been great. I definitely have to get you back on to talk about topics. Yeah, I definitely want you back on to talk about some other topics. But before you go, you have to answer my last question, and it's, who's in your GGG? And for me, that is Goal Getter Game. So as a therapist, are there any national therapists that you follow? And you seem like you're now a supreme budgeter, with, I'm sure you probably in the 800s or something. Since the husband, Mr. Henderson, and put you over the top. So like, who kind of sustains you? Because I tell people all the time, I don't do this by myself. I have a CPA, I have an insurance broker. So like, who kind of sustains you? And you can name names, or you don't have to, but just kind of let people know you're not doing this all by yourself. Let people know it's okay to go out and seek experts in those respective fields.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I will say this, as far as my financial guru, it definitely will be you and my husband, hands down. You drop those little nuggets and I listen. Sometimes I have been, I'm brash, but sometimes me just asking those questions is not because I'm taking it lightly. It's because I like a deeper dive. And when I understand the why behind something, it drives me a little bit more. My brother, when he finds out about investing, he got me hooked up with Robinhood. So y'all, I'm telling you, never in a million years would have thought I'd have been an investor. Never.
Right, buying your own stock, just like I'll take that one, please.
I'm telling you, it's $100 here, $100 here, and you watch money growing. I'm so excited. So that is my main thing, is just learning from other people just like me. Right. I don't really have any famous people that I just follow that I just absolutely love. But I will say, controversy drives me. I like to know why people think the way they think. I like to know what got them started, what changed them. So really, and as far as just like, I'm a big mental health person, love mental health whenever the topic comes up, no matter what, love trauma, love how the effects of trauma bleed into our adult life. So I just listen really to a lot of people, just as far as my general coworkers, just people who are in the field, follow a lot of, just looking at a lot of platforms, the Mental Health Association. I get a lot of good information from those people as well, but I don't really have just one guru. But definitely, and I'm not trying to sound like a broken record. My husband has just opened my eyes up to what your potential could be, and not just being right here. Like, keep elevating, keep going. Even with the life insurance, I was happy with a $50,000 policy. Why? Why are you? Who you don't think your 3 children are going to fight over $50,000?
Right.
So his thing was, you get enough to where they can advance in their life. And I'm like, I'll be dead. Exactly. That's a gift to them. Yeah. I never thought of it like that. Never thought of it like that.
Yep. You've hit on so many good nuggets, because life insurance is one of the ways that, we talk about, not to get into the race stuff too heavy, but we talk about who built this country and who then benefited from that hard work. But a lot of their wealth came from life insurance policies, because they were able to get these huge policies. And then, they know grandpa and the daddy, eventually y'all gonna pass away, and then setting up trust for your family.
Absolutely.
In the POA.
Absolutely.
So that is truly why I literally built this whole platform, because I've just lost so many people that are very close to me, like aunts, uncles, mom, dad, like gone. And so for me, even though we didn't have to struggle or have to sell plates to bury them, watching other people do that bothered me.
Absolutely.
Like, it bothered me, because our process is fairly simple. Okay, person passes away, take the insurance policy, or maybe even not that. Write a check from their checking account, pay for the funeral, then deal with the insurance policy. That way you don't have that.
Yeah.
You gotta wait another week because you gotta send this off, and this that good stuff. So for me, like I said, that's just another reason why I do what I do, just to try to normalize people taking care of themselves and being self-sustaining, and not having to rely on other people when they're
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. And when you're ready to do a segment on should children work and go to school,
listen. Look, we about to be on here once a week, y'all. Get ready to see our face, because seriously, we just have so many topics that we agree on, some of the topics that we disagree on.
Right.
I just like hearing different opinions. For me, I don't like kids to work when they're in school. So August to May is off limits, aside for Thanksgiving and Christmas break. But summertime is, you could do that. But for me, I was on the fringe in school. I wasn't no straight A student. So I needed to focus, okay? Every day, I needed to focus Monday through Friday. I didn't have to be running out of class trying to get to a job, because I'd be late for the job, late for the test, and I flunked out and I ain't got no job. That's too much, right?
You only focus on one thing to be late at.
One thing at a time.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Miss Keisha.
You are more than welcome, CC.
To the people.
What'd you say?
Any parting words, anything you want to say before we close out today?
Hey, I just want to say thank you for this time. First of all, I love you to death. And I do want people to just start thinking about what you want to do more of with your life, financially, mentally, spiritually. Don't be afraid to grow yourself in any type of realm if it's going to be for the betterment of you and your family.
I love it. Thank you so much, girl. Till next time, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.